Welcome to Big Little Stories. I'm Ivy Sharmetz. My guest today is a nonprofit leader who has spent nearly 2 decades guiding an organization that has been serving communities for more than 2 centuries. Patrice Picard is CEO of Cornerstone Family Programs and Morristown Neighborhood House. Her work provides a lifeline to thousands of children, families, and seniors, guided by the belief that everyone deserves a chance for a happy, healthy, and productive life. I've been able to see her amazing work up close. Thank you so much for being here, Patrice.
Great. Thank you for having me, Ivy.
Of course, of course. So, I want to talk about the work that you are doing, but I want to start, you're such a giving, generous, thoughtful leader. I know the philanthropic work that you do is very important to you. Where did that come from for you, that desire and that passion for giving back and helping others?
It's really interesting. A lot of people can say it came from families or growing up. My family really wasn't philanthropic. There really wasn't a lot of that in the family. So I kind of came to it later in life. And, when I moved to New Jersey with 2 young children, I joined the Junior League, which is all about volunteerism, and really got embedded in the community here. And it felt almost like coming home. Like this is
Yeah,
what I was meant to do.
right.
So I got involved on that volunteer side and then ended up having it be my career.
I love that so much because it speaks to the fact that no matter where you are in your life, what stage you're in, it's never too late to want to serve your community and give back and have that kind of thought. You mentioned moving to New Jersey. Before you were here, you were up in Boston, right? You were working for a
Yeah.
big bank in the corporate world. What happened that made you want to come to New Jersey?
Actually, it was happenstance. My late husband got transferred here, and he was already working in New Jersey and refused to move until he got partner at a firm because of my job. And at the time, I had one little one and another one on the way. So
Yeah.
that's we ended up moving here, and it was so different. I did not know anything about New Jersey.
So what did you think of New Jersey? I always love asking people this question. New Jersey, I don't have to tell you, outside of the state has one type of reputation. What
Right.
what what did you think of New Jersey, and how did that change, or did it once you got here and became a Jersey girl?
Well, I really, the only place I'd ever been in New Jersey was Newark Airport. Been flying
It's
through Newark
not
Airport
always the best representation of the entire state.
way, way back in the day, which was even worse.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea. And when he said we were being transferred to New Jersey, I said, "What? Where? Wait." And he said, "No, no, really, you'll like it." So when I came here, I was shocked at how beautiful it is.
Mm,
And I've now come to appreciate the closeness to New York City, the
sure.
beaches, and everything. So it was a shock, but I've now been here 32 years. So I guess this is home.
Well, and also, I just called you a Jersey girl. So if you weren't before, I've just now,
Thank
declared
you.
that you are. Um, but I think there's also something about the sense of community and the way we help each other here in New Jersey, and the way certain organizations like yours, I feel like sometimes they thrive, especially in New Jersey, because of the way we care for each other here.
I think that's a great representation. And when you go other places, there are a lot of social services, but those organizations are much bigger and don't have that kind of family community feel. And the
Yeah,
good and bad thing about New Jersey is it has a lot of individual communities
sure.
and
Yeah.
small municipalities, but that's a good thing in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. So I think that's what's missing in a lot of places.
Yeah. So your experience working at a bank, and I'll speak from my experience. I've worked for private organizations and consulting firms and nonprofits, and done that. And private organizations are always worried about the bottom line. Of
Hmm.
course, all organizations have to think about the numbers, but when you're working for a nonprofit, especially one that deals with the types of services that you provide, every decision you make, you're also thinking about how is this impacting the community we serve and the lives that we serve. So Was that a difficult reframing of the way you looked at business?
Oh, absolutely. I think it was a good transition from
Yeah,
the for-profit to the nonprofit world because sometimes those business skills are lacking, and I think that was helpful. But you really do have to then think about every single decision and every single constituent. So you have a lot of constituents when you run a nonprofit. It's not just the dollar, the bottom line, the shareholders. It's the community.
yeah,
Community members feel like they own, some part of this.
sure.
It's the families you serve. It's your donors,
Yeah,
and it's your employees. So it's very different in that way. And I think every decision you make can really have an impact on somebody's life.
yeah,
The change in, the savings account rate of interest, that doesn't really impact people's lives
right,
most of the time. But really, every decision you make in a nonprofit could potentially impact somebody's life.
right.
And it's a pretty weighty responsibility.
How do you deal with that responsibility? What's keeping you up at night?
Um, Well, I think you deal with the responsibility by making the best decision you can. You can't overthink it. You can't get paralyzed by it because a decision is better than no decision.
Sure, sure.
And you really do weigh out what impact things have on
Yeah,
people. And one of the things that we've always done is what do we do? Are there other people that can do it also? So we collaborate a lot in our organization. So I feel like that's also very helpful, having a whole group of nonprofit providers.
yeah.
So if we can't do it, we know who can.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that too, because I have found that the most successful nonprofits are the ones that are partnering and working with other nonprofits. And
Mhm.
I think before I understood that, I felt like there was a competition, among the nonprofits. Maybe there is a little bit, but there's more of a sense of we are responsible for a community and we are helping this community, and there's something kind of magical that happens when nonprofits are partnering with each other and making things happen that they can't do alone.
Yeah. And I think there is some competition because funding is so hard.
Of course.
There is
Yeah.
always that funding and raising funds. So there is some competition. But I think for us, we've always tried to be the one who says, let's partner.
Yeah.
And when you put it out there, 9 times out of 10, you get somebody from another organization who says, oh, well, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And, for us, we've been around 213 years. I don't think we're going anywhere, hopefully. So I think that's a little bit, for us, we feel a little more secure.
Yeah. So you mentioned all those years, 213 years. Cornerstone Family Programs started in 1814. It was initially to help families who were impacted by the War of 1812. I wonder if they thought they'd be around for 213 years after that. And then Morristown Neighborhood House was founded in 1898 as part of the settlement house movement of that time. In 2013, they merged. What a history these organizations have had, and what community staples they have been for so long. What do you attribute that longevity to?
It's absolutely the ability to change
Mm,
and to embrace change and to respond to what's going on in the world at that time.
yeah.
So in 1913, Cornerstone actually changed to serve men instead of just women and children, and also to serve people outside of the immediate Morristown area.
Mm,
And that was a big change. And they did that by convening a community forum to talk about what the needs were. So in
wow.
2013, we decided to merge with the neighborhood house, which was having some financial difficulty, and kind of put together a different organization. So I like to joke around and say every 100 years we have some major change.
Any preview as to what 2113 is going to be like, or not yet?
I I'm thinking I'm not going to be there.
Okay, well, you never know. You never know. But so, what are some of the services we've been talking about? Cornerstone and Morristown Neighborhood House. What are the services that these organizations provide?
One of our big strengths is child care,
Yes.
and working with children. So we have 9 preschool classrooms, and in Morristown, and 4 more in Dover. So it really, just off the top of my head, I think 500 kids in one of our programs.
Wow.
So that is really a bulk of what we do.
Sure.
And it is preschool, before and after school, summer camp, and those kinds of things. We also have, when we actually merged in 2013, what we heard from the community was there were no teen programs. So we built some teen programs, and again, responding to the needs of the times, one of the programs we built was a teen mental health first aid. And that came out of our teens being isolated during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we always respond. So we have a whole host of teen programs. And then we have our senior adult day center. So we have our seniors, we have like 75 seniors signed up for that who come
Amazing.
to the adult center. So in that, there's a lot of other recreation and enrichment programs. I think, have 70 some programs if you look at it now.
One of the programs that I think is so interesting and unique is the Rites of Passages program, which helps guide teenagers from childhood into adulthood. Why is that? Why is that such an important thing to make available to teenagers?
It's a safe space for teenagers, and the majority of them, either African American or Hispanic teenagers, who may not have the understanding of their community and what that means. So it's really important for us to have it. It's being led by professionals, and it's a safe space. They talk about all kinds of things that they wouldn't talk to their parents about.
Right.
And also learning. So we even take them, for instance, on field trips to a college campus where they may never have seen a college campus. They may never have dreamed that they could go to college. So all of those kinds of things. And we have kids that have come back for 2 or 3 years and done it. So
Wow.
it's such an important thing. Because of the success of that, we actually have another program which is called Boys to Men, which is for the younger kids. And that came out of our recreation program, where the coach said, "Oh, here's pizza tonight." And every night after that, the boys were like, "Can we have pizza or food?" And we realized the kids were hungry. So we taught them how to cook a simple meal. They sit down and eat it family style, and they talk about their feelings. And these are middle school boys talking
Wow.
about their feelings.
Wow.
And so a lot of that in the rites of passage is just giving kids space to feel heard
Yeah.
in this world where they might not have an adult who actually has the time to listen to them.
Yeah. I also feel like we can't talk about the programs without at least mentioning Unity Step, because talk to me about Unity Step. I'll let you explain it. You'll do a better job than I will.
Well, step dancing, which I had no idea, is actually a huge thing especially in the African American community. And it's this really rhythmic dance program. And we started doing our Unity Step program several years ago. And it is more than a dance program. It starts as a dance program. The kids perform all over the place, but it really is a sisterhood. And the girls learn respect, they learn discipline, they learn to show up on time. And the younger girls have older sisters in this, where they're not
Amazing.
real sisters, but
Yeah.
they get sisters from being in this. And for us, it's almost like an intervention to keep those girls who you could lose at a certain point interested in something that's healthy and respectful, and they set goals and things like that.
Yeah, and they gain confidence and they learn about leadership and all of the things that you want. We're going to take a very short break. We have lots more to talk about with Patrice. We'll be right back after this message. Patrice, you've been doing this work for so many years, and so many people, children's families, seniors have kind of come in and out of your programs. Are there certain stories that stand out to you that when you think like, wow, like that's a beautiful success story?
Yeah, actually, one of our young people, very early on in our teen programs as we were building them, um, I went in and met her for the first time. So she's a freshman in high school, and her father, non English speaking, and one of our donors kind of hooked them up with the neighborhood house. I walked into the boardroom, and her head is down, and she can barely speak to me. She speaks English perfectly well, but she's so shy and so reserved. And she joined our programs and went through what we call our NABE Teens at Work program, which is where they go out and do internships at local businesses. And she actually was working for Villa Pizza, which was looking to set up spots in Mexico. And since she spoke Spanish, they had her call possible franchisees in Mexico in high school.
Wow.
And she had blossomed and started to blossom throughout our programs. But by the time she was a senior in high school, she gave a speech at our annual gala with 300 people in the room,
Wow.
flawlessly, and then went off to college. And when she was in college, they said, "You have more experience than college students." So she then went on to work for Marvel Comics.
Wow.
So that was wonderful, being able to see her come in as a shy teenager who
Yeah.
really didn't even look you in the eye to somebody who was so confident they could give a speech in front of 300 people and go on to college and succeed.
What has all of this work taught you about people?
Um, People are people, and they're resilient. And if you take the time and listen to their story and provide the opportunity, they can do almost anything.
Mm.
And I am not surprised, but continually impressed by the care families take of their children and how parents want their kids to succeed, and how some of these kids who are 13 and 14 are acting really as the glue to keep their family
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So it is just amazing. But I think the biggest thing is there's not the difference people think there is. There's not the us and them. It's all of us together.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I I have to also ask you about something. You know, you are an executive coach. You coach people. I often think about a piece of advice that you gave me many years ago, and I'm going to not. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to say. I'm going to let you say it because I will mess it up. About the size of your world. Can
Yes.
you please share that with everyone?
Yeah, it was a quote from Anais Nin, if I pronounce her name correctly, but it says, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage."
And how has that guided you? I know it has.
Yeah, there's a lot of times when you don't want to do something. You're nervous about doing it. You're afraid of doing it. I'd rather just sit in my house. I'd rather feel bad for myself. I'd rather do whatever. And for me, it was like, okay, do you want a small life? Do you want a big life? Do you want your life to shrink or to expand?
Yeah.
And it really was a way to put a lot of decisions into perspective.
And I remember where we were having dinner. You shared that quote with me. This was many years ago. And I think about it often, and I think about it exactly the way you phrased it. Do I want my life to get bigger or smaller? And it's amazing how just the reframing of a situation in that way makes you more open, I guess, to possibilities. But is I feel like that's also so aligned with the work that you're doing, especially with the young people that you're working with, and encouraging them to really make their world bigger.
Yes. It is, and I really believe that. When I was giving a talk to at an MBA program to women in business, and said, you have to say yes.
Yeah.
You have to say yes to things. You can't wait for the perfect time. You can't be the perfect whatever. Just have to
Yeah.
say yes. And I think for the kids in our programs, that's really important too, because they don't really understand that. They haven't seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. How do people who are listening to this and they want to help and they want to get involved, how can they do that?
Well, first of all, check out our website, which is cfp-mnh.org, and you
Yep.
can look up Cornerstone Family Programs and find it. But we have a lot of volunteer opportunities, a lot of opportunities to donate. We love volunteers. Our kids love to see new people come in. If you want hugs from preschoolers, just volunteer. And it's great. But there's a lot that we can do. And because we touch so many different ages, I think there's a lot of volunteer opportunities for almost everybody.
Yeah, and I'll say, just you reminded me too. The people who work with the organization, who volunteer for the organization and work with the organization, are remarkable. I know one of your teachers a few years ago, was acknowledged for being like one of the best educators in the state, and we were able to honor her when I was at News 12. So it's an amazing work that you do. Thank you for everything that you do, Patrice. We end each of these conversations with something we like to call 3 big little questions. We do them rapid fire. It's just 3 questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. How do you get yourself out of a bad mood?
If I'm at work, I just go into a preschool classroom and get hugs.
I want to do that too. What is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't do karaoke. I've never done karaoke. I'd like to do it someday.
And I'm putting that on the list of things for us to do next time. And what is one of your favorite places in New Jersey?
Morristown. I know I live here, but it's so fun and there's so much to do here.
Yeah. And Morristown is such a wonderful place to experience community. It's incredible. So, Patrice, thank you so much. Thank you for making the time. I know you're very busy. I appreciate you making the time to do this with me. And I always love talking to you, and I know I'm going to talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Ivy.
Thank you, Patrice. And that will do it for today's Big Little Stories. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at Big Little Story Show. I'm Ivy Sharmetz. I'll talk to you next time.